Identifying
the king of cakes. Chopper for the win.
G'day guys, welcome back to Cakes by Chopper. Today we have a Batman symbol cake that I call the old school logo, and I wanted to show you guys how to make this because it's angled, it shines and changes color in the light. It's super cool. I would love this at my party, but it reminded me that Batman Forever was my favorite Batman movie. And I emailed Netflix the other day and said, hey, do you guys have Batman Forever? And they wrote back and said, nah, just till June. I'm sorry, that's the dumbest joke ever. Anyway, if you want to dress this cake up a bit, you can combine it with any toy that will hold a candle. I'll show you how at the end of the video. Put that out at a birthday party with some cupcakes and you're sure to have a winner. If you want to learn how to make it, stick around and I'll show you how. To get started, what we're going to do is head over to the Cakes by Chopper Facebook page, print off your template. Now you can see there's two bat symbols on here. This one is the size of the cake, this one is the top, and we're going to cut it in a way where it's angled. So we angle this one to be this shape. I'll show you how. I've cut the template out pretty precise. With the thinner version of the bat symbol, we're going to place that on and cut 3 of those and stack them. Keep your knife vertical so you get nice clean edges. Trim away the excess and then you can remove your cakes. Now being a YouTuber, I often get asked a lot about recipes and tools I used. Now this is not sponsored, but the knife I use to carve the cakes is Victorinox. They're about $8, they're just a steak knife and they come with colourful handles. They just glide perfectly through cake. Now I'm also not a cooking channel, so recipes and ingredients and stuff for cakes, generally I find they all work for decorated novelty cakes. Your more fragile, light cakes I'd probably stay away from, but your normal vanillas, your chocolate cakes, your mud cakes, they handle really well. So it's up to you with what fillings and what cake flavors. This is just a vanilla and chocolate marble cake, and I've put a little bit of black food dye into the chocolate to make it black and yellow for the Batman theme. All right, now we've got our cake stacked. What we're going to do is, if we put this template on top, you can see it's too big. It's actually too wide for it. But what we're going to do is turn your cake to the side and angle it, and we're going to trim this top piece off on an angle. But how you do that is you measure from this corner down to that corner. Cut all the way through to the bottom corner, and hopefully I've got that right. Kind of. Then we're going to flip that and put it that way. So now we have the cake angled, and that will make the pattern sit perfectly. And I was correct, the top layer gets split in half from corner to corner, and then it's going to sit up like a display symbol. I was just admiring the back. Have a look at that color pattern. The black and yellow looks amazing. When you cut this, there's going to be that black and yellow surprise, so you've got that total Batman theme. Now it's time for the ganache. We're going to secure our cake to the board. I'm going to put a generous helping of ganache in the middle, placing our first one right there in the middle. So for the filling, we're going to spoon a big spoonful of ganache into the center, and then I've used some of these banana lollies that I've put through a food processor, and we're going to apply a generous little sprinkle of these. The smaller pieces, the better. Then we can push those into the ganache. Now these will take on the moisture of the ganache and the cake, and you get a nice little hidden banana-y surprise. If you want, you can go a nice thin layer over that just for a little bit of extra moisture. Okay, now we'll put our next layer on. Just remove any pieces that are too big, because you don't want it to be throwing your balance of cake off. For the top layer, to reduce risk of sliding, we'll just put the ganache and use that as a glue. So you don't want to be too heavy-handed. You want enough to be a filling, but not too much where it's gonna risk it falling. Now it's important to check the level of your cake. You don't want to lean at the back or the front. Mine's got a slight lean towards the back, which I'm going to correct by just bringing that forward. Now we can just go through and give that a full crumb coat and pop it in the fridge to set. So now the cake is out of the fridge, I got my offset spatula and just cleaned it up a little bit and added a little bit more ganache to smooth it out and get a nice flat edge on all areas. We can pop that aside. To make sure our fondant doesn't stick, I'm just putting down some cornstarch, or corn flour if you're in Australia. I pre-prepared some yellow fondant, which we're just going to roll out to a decent thickness and then cover the cake and trim off the excess. Now that the fondant's rolled out to the right thickness, I'm going to roll it back over my pin, place it over the top, and then quickly secure it around the cake before it stretches too much. And then we can work on getting the bottom in with very minimal pleating. Once you've got it down to the bottom, you can grab your fondant smoother and then just give it a quick little run around. Now I'm going to take my pizza cutting tool and cut off the excess. And then as I've got that all trimmed off, I'm going to go around and just try and get it as smooth as possible. I'm just going to use my fingers to go along the edge at the top and just pinch that in together just to give me a sharper edge. Now for our bat symbol, we're going to roll out some black fondant and cut it exactly to the template, and that's going to go on top because we've got that the perfect size. So many of you come to my channel for little tips and tricks. This is a really good one if you've got a logo or an image to transfer. I put a little bit of cornstarch on some baking paper, rub that around. Don't know if it does anything. I just like to do it as a precautionary measure. Then I take my black fondant, or my fondant that I'm going to use the logo, I roll it out to the desired thickness and I cut it on the baking paper. Then I transfer that baking paper to the kitchen, well the fridge, and I put that in the fridge and let it firm up. Then when I put it on the cake, it's quite firm and it doesn't bend and stretch, so you get that nice crisp logo. I'll show you. A good thing to have in your caking kit is one of these rollers that helps you guide how thick the fondant is. Because I want the logo rim to be the exact same size, these little bands help keep it the same size all the way along. So you just go through, roll that over, and then you'll get the same thickness when you roll the next lot. If you're going to make the Batman logo, fold it in half because it's perfectly symmetrical. Go symmetry. And we cut that out just once. You do one side and you get a perfect bat logo. When cutting the symbol, try not to pull as much as you can. Like I'll cut the inners, and then when I get to the edge, I will push, like I'll push down, go around the inside, but then when I get to the edge, I'll just lay the knife down and cut. And it will prevent the pulling and distorting that I mentioned earlier. Now that we have a nice clean bat symbol, I'm going to go around with my magic brush and just smooth out any parts I didn't like. I really want my Batman logo to pop, so I'm going to go around the edge with this iridescent lilac. It goes on clear, but it sort of shines a nice blue and it moves with the light. So what I'm going to do is just lightly pop that on the side. Now I'm going to pop that into the fridge just so it firms up so we can transfer it. Now for the border around our bat symbol, I'm just going to roll out a snake using the same thickness, flatten it out, trim it off, and then put it around as best I can to keep a nice oval. An easy way to get this on is to drape it over your cake like this so it feels fully supported, and then you start from the bottom and work your way to the top. So I'm going to use a little bit of edible glue, just where I want that to start. Sticking that on. Just use your template to make sure you've got the ring in the right area, which I think we've pretty much got it spot on. I've just used a little bit of edible glue to seal that in place. By the time you've done this trim, your bat logo will be ready to come out of the fridge, so I'll go grab that now and we'll place that on. Now I'm going to place a little bit of edible glue in the middle and just smear that around. And as you can see, our bat logo is quite firm. I can pick it up and it not bend and stretch too much. And I'll place that in the middle and just push that on firmly so it grips. On the edges of the oval, I'm just going to do this side with a little bit of blue, and that side, it's only the smallest amount. You don't want to trace the whole thing, just give it some accents. When it hits the light or people walk past it, you can see it's shimmery and it's just eye-catching. I think that looks super cool. To finish this off, you can either put somebody's name. I'm going to do a little skyline for the sake of the video, but it's up to you how you decorate the bottom. Have some fun with it, get creative. Now, if you like the idea of the city skyline, I'm sure there's many videos that show you how to do it. The quickest way I've found is to trim off the top and then the bottom. And I only want them to go up about halfway. So I'm going to do some short and some tall. Then I'm going to cut strips, just like buildings, some big ones, some thin ones. Now you can leave them flat or you can trim them off. I'm just going to go around, put a little bit of edible glue, just haphazardly sticking it to the front, and then I'm going to start with my buildings. I think the hard part is picking which ones you want to go where. Now I'm going to be a little bit extra and go through and put some windows in my buildings. Not necessity, but it's going to, the more detail you put, the better. I also think someone's name would look really cool here. You could put their name in lights, up to you. Just depends how much work you want to put into it. I'm just going to choose a purple window because I think it'll go really well with the yellow. Continue that all the way around, just adding little lights sporadically. So now that you've put on all the lights around the buildings, you are done with your Batman cake. Now this is quite a simple cake, but some of you are busy parents on the go. I've got a little trick here for you that's going to make this look even more cooler. If you can find a cheap Batman toy, or you might have one laying around the house that you can sterilize, stand him in front, use a small piece of fondant, which I'm just going to pop that into his hand, mold it around, then stick a candle in his hand, and there you go. You have your easy Batman birthday cake that's a little different from the rest of it, or from the others. It's got the symbol showing at the front. Looks great when you walk past. As you can see on camera, it shimmers. I think it looks really cool. So there you go, guys. What do you think? A very easy Batman cake plus a little extra just makes it super cool. I would have loved this as a kid. What do you think? Please check out the YouTuber that I've featured this week in my end card. Thank you so much for watching. Share this video with a friend, and I'll catch you next time. Bye, guys.